From Wood TV 8, this is a breaking news alert.
I knew this job would be hard, but I'll be honest, I never could have imagined anything like this.
A shocking day of news. 13 men charged in an elaborate plot to allegedly kidnap Governor Whitmer. Investigators believe that they were close to executing the plan.
The men, all members of militia groups. The governor partially blaming the president for helping to incite fear.
Just last week, the President of the United States stood before the American people and refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups like these two Michigan militia groups. Stand back and stand by, he told them.
Tonight we know that 3 of the people arrested are from West Michigan.
We are tracking down the people who know them.
I've known him since he was 8 years old. I knew he belonged to the militia, but I didn't know it was this deep. He kept it pretty quiet.
Our entire newsroom's been digging into this story all day.
Susan Samples, Lindsay McCombe, and Joe Lafergie are uncovering new information about the West Michigan men arrested.
Rick Albin's got reaction from lawmakers. Kyle Mitchell will show us how the governor is reacting.
But first, we turn to Whitney Burney with what we know about this shocking plot overall. Whitney?
Well, Brian and Sue, this 15-page document is filled with information from recorded phone calls and things an FBI informant witnessed firsthand. The group had several meetings here in Grand Rapids. Some of their ideas included sending a bomb to the governor. Documents revealed they believe their best chance to take the governor was at her vacation home up north. According to an unsealed affidavit obtained by News 8, federal agents say they first became aware of the plot to kidnap the governor via social media earlier this year. The document lists their goals as, quote, creating a society that followed the U.S. Bill of Rights, kidnapping the governor, and trying her for treason at an undisclosed location in Wisconsin. The FBI informant who detailed the conversation says the men complained about the judicial system and the governor's COVID-19 response.
All of us in Michigan can disagree about politics, but those disagreements should never, ever amount to violence. Because of the hard work of the men and women of law enforcement, police officers and federal agents, violence has been prevented today.
The affidavit references a Second Amendment rally in June at the state's capital where the men allegedly recruited people for their plan. Police say the men spent several months watching Governor Whitmer's vacation home up north. They also built, tested, and acquired materials for bombs, some of them wrapped in shrapnel. The FBI informant says they inspected the underside of the M31 bridge to place the bomb in effort to slow police response. There were also talks of shooting up the governor's home in Lansing and attacking the Michigan State Police facility. Multiple local, state, and federal agencies working together for months, ending with 13 arrests.
Law enforcement is always a team effort, and today I am grateful to stand alongside 4 leading partners who worked collaboratively and decisively to thwart a serious and credible threat to public safety.
Documents show Adam Fox from Grand Rapids was one of the ringleaders. He was living here at the Vac Shack in Grand Rapids, one of several locations raided by the FBI this week, including spots in Zeeland, Shelbyville, Plainwell, and Kalamazoo. At one point, Fox says, quote, we ain't gonna let them burn down our effing state. I don't give an F. If there's only 20 or 30 of us, dude, we'll go out there and use deadly force.
All of us standing here today want the public to know that federal and state law enforcement are committed to working together to make sure violent extremists never succeed with their plans, particularly when they target our duly elected leaders.
Now tonight, all 13 of those individuals involved in this case are in custody. They face felony charges of terrorism, gang membership, conspiracy to kidnap, among several others. Brian, Sue.
Yeah, Whitney, as you detailed there, that plan was elaborate. It was detailed. It was evolving, it seemed, as the months went on. And finally, it was exposed by the FBI. Whitney Burney, thank you for that live report.
Turning to Kyle Mitchell now at the state capitol, where late this afternoon we heard from Governor Gretchen Whitmer for the first time about this. Kyle?
Sue, Governor Whitmer spoke for the first time from her office here at the Capitol. Her message, we are not each other's enemies. The enemy is the virus. The governor condemned hatred, bigotry, and violence. She called for the president and leadership in Washington to condemn extremist groups. Tim Skubik from our sister station in Lansing spoke one-on-one with the governor shortly after she made the remarks.
Governor, I guess the obvious first question to start out with, how are you and the family doing?
We're fine. We are safe. Our security is, the state police, and they have done an incredible job. And I'm grateful to them. And of course, the FBI, the brave men and women that put themselves on the line to make sure we stay safe. So we're safe, and we're incredibly grateful.
This kind of stuff you never think about, do you?
Well, Tim, I knew this job was tough. I know that people aren't always going to agree with me when I have to make tough decisions. I never would have imagined a global pandemic. There are a lot of things about 2020 that would have been hard to get my head around a couple of years ago. And yet we're in this crisis, and we're going to get through it. And I recognize that leadership matters, or the words we use matter, and the environment we're in is dangerous for a lot of different reasons, and every one of us has to do our part to call it out, to say that we do not tolerate hate and violence, and I'm proud of kind of how it was handled today.
We'll have more on the governor's response coming up at 6. Live in Lansing, Kyle Mitchell, News 8.
Yeah, when we listened to the governor live today, Kyle, she talked a lot about unity. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you.
The first that we got wind of something happening was last night when the FBI raided that vacuum shop at 36th and Division. The man that they arrested there is allegedly one of the ringleaders in this plot. Target 8 investigator Susan Samples is there live with what she has uncovered today. Susan?
The owner of this vacuum shop told me his employee, 37-year-old Adam Fox, was mad at the government, mad at police, and fearful that Democrats might win the election and take away guns. Instead, federal agents took away guns from this shop last night, where Adam Fox had worked and was most recently living. Tucked in a strip mall like any other, along a busy business-packed stretch, a vacuum shop you might not give a second glance. Until this, a federal raid at nightfall, agents investigating this man, Adam Fox, a long-time off-and-on vacuum shop employee turned militia leader. These pictures from his Facebook page.
Him and his girlfriend broke up in Kalamazoo, and he came here homeless, and he had the 2 dogs. So I let him stay here.
Here was the shop's basement, entered through a utility closet and door in the floor. Fox had a bedroom down here, and according to federal agents, a plan to kidnap Governor Whitmer.
The last 8 months with the COVID and with everything going on, like the riots, I noticed he started getting on edge and stuff, and I think he believed he started a militia.
Shop owner Brian Titus says he knew nothing of Fox's plan. Even so.
Well, I got scared when he told me, he was involved in a militia and he had his own militia, and I told him he had 1 November to get out of here.
Agents reportedly removed 2 assault rifles and a 9mm from Fox's belongings in the shop, where Brian Titus began fielding calls from national media and regular people, some angry, some supportive. Titus, a 12-year Marine veteran, is scared of losing his business.
This is my life. I'm 60 years old. And this is really affecting me because there's more people out there. It's not just him. They're everywhere.
To reiterate, Brian Titus is the owner of this store. Adam Fox was his employee. Titus said Adam Fox did not talk about race or white supremacy, instead focusing on the government and guns. He did, Titus says, talk about Boogaloo and had Hawaiian shirts. That's a Boogaloo trademark. Titus said Fox described Boogaloo as the battle that would take place if the government tried to take away guns. Live at 36th and Division, Susan Samples, back to you.
Yeah, and as was outlined in that affidavit today, Susan, in that basement was where some of that plotting was happening in regards to this. Susan Samples, thank you.
We want to bring in News 8's Lindsay McCombe now. She's live in studio control with more from an Antrim County court where 3 suspects were arraigned today. Lindsay.
Yeah, Sue, that's exactly right. The 3 suspects arraigned in Antrim County late this morning are part of the group of 7 men charged under Michigan's Anti-Terrorism Act. We are waiting on a 4th arraignment right now. At last check, that has not happened yet. Here are the mugshots of those who were arraigned. Brothers William and Michael Null and Eric Molitor face identical charges. 1 felony count of providing material support to a terrorist or terrorist organization, as well as 1 count of felony firearm for being armed while committing the first felony. The men were arraigned from jail by Zoom this morning. The court documents associated with these charges say the men took part in surveilling the governor's vacation home in Antrim County, specifically that, quote, Molitor, along with others, on August 29th, conducted surveillance of Governor Whitmer's vacation home. He used his cell phone to find the location and took photographs. He further discussed with others about conducting surveillance from water at a later date, end quote. The document for the Null brothers states, quote, in particular, William Null and Michael Null have provided assistance for a nighttime physical surveillance operation of the governor's vacation home by acting as lookouts. Here's what the Assistant Attorney General said to the judge about the charges.
I think this defendant, as well as the other 2 and other defendants, are extremely dangerous in this case. I mean, they belong to terrorist organizations, groups that are targeting government officials, politicians. They're also providing material support to execute plans, these targeted individuals, as well as providing material support, and specifically in this case with regard to attempting to abduct, try, and execute the governor of the state of Michigan, Governor Whitmer.
Now, as for criminal history beyond these charges, Michael Null pleaded guilty back in 2001 in a misdemeanor property damage case. In 2006, Molitor pleaded guilty to misdemeanor retail fraud. William does not have a criminal history. Sue.
Okay, a lot of developments there, Lindsay. Thank you. And this is not the first time that William and Michael Null have appeared in the news.
We do want to get out to News 8's Joe Lafergie, who is live in Berry County with more on the brothers' history with a local militia group. Joe?
Yeah, Brian, Sue, we're on 9 Mile. We're just east of Martin, and this is the home that William Null and his family lived in. This is a quiet neighborhood, a rural neighborhood. Suddenly last night it was swarming with police.
I walked over there, and all there was about 6 police cars there on the corner.
The police presence on this quiet stretch of road along the Berry-Elgin County line was part of the investigation into the Null brothers. We went to both William's home and Michael's home near Plainwell. No one came to the door. The last time we heard from Michael and William Null was in July when News 8's Jacqueline Francis talked to them as part of a profile of area militia groups. The Nulls, both members of the Michigan Liberty Militia, a group that had made its mark showing up heavily armed at protests, including those at the state capitol.
Some of the events that we're at, we don't really actually don't even agree with, but as constitutionalists, you have the right to protest as long as you're peaceful.
Those words contradicted by today's charges. Also seem to contradict the quiet nature of the man neighbors recognized.
Just as normal as can be.
Now, you might notice the large fence that is in front of the Null home. That's a steel fence, and the neighbors tell me it went up just days ago. Null put it up himself. But a lot of the speculation among neighbors here is that was put up more to hide some of the heavy equipment and other items on the other side, not so much to hide any kind of illegal activity. Live near Martin, Joe Lafergie, News 8.
Okay, thanks for that live update, Joe. Thank you. And then new reaction just into the newsroom now. Former Vice President Joe Biden reacting to today's news about Governor Whitmer, a person he at one point considered making his vice presidential pick.
The senator talked to Gretchen, to the governor, earlier before I landed, and I talked to her. She's feeling secure and good, and I think that the FBI and others deserve a great deal of credit for what they've done. Why can't the president just say, stop, 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 and we will pursue you if you don't? So stop.
Speaking of the president, our first reaction just in from the White House. This is from Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, quoting here, President Trump has continually condemned white supremacists and all forms of hate. Governor Whitmer is sowing division by making these outlandish allegations. America stands united against hate and in support of our federal law enforcement who stopped this plot. So many different pieces to the story. It's breaking, of course, on a local level here, but now nationally.
Oh, absolutely. And all day long, it's one development after another. When you read through that affidavit, really the information in there through the FBI, it's chilling.
Yes.
And it's disturbing, and we continue to learn more as this investigation continues. And there are so many aspects of it.
Our team coverage will continue throughout the evening here on Wood TV 8. Still ahead tonight at 5:30. We've got reactions from lawmakers in Michigan. We'll also hear from former U.S. District Attorney Pat Miles about today's news.